Hello, I'm making this video to show you a cool way to make grass in Photoshop. Selected a new document. I'm just going to be pulling this over into Illustrator, but make this for whatever you're going to make it for, obviously. Wouldn't copy any of those settings necessarily. And when the actual dimensions don't matter, I just crop to make my new artboards. It's faster. Let's throw away the background layer anyway. Just kind of select all and apply a noise filter. Well, I guess I need to put something in there first. So get it to the point somewhere around here. And you want to pick monochromatic. One thing to note is that once you hit Gaussian over and over, you get different distributions. I'm just going to duplicate this layer now. So you want it to look something like this. And of course, the size of these grains, like you see these chunks popping up where it's grouped them really close together. That would be what we want eventually. And we're going to do that by nudging this a little bit and going to multiply. Since it's black and white, it is putting them all real close together. Now I might want to do these one at a time, but I'll just go ahead and duplicate them to save them. In case I want to go back, I run out of history states. So anyway, I merge these, Control E. So I have one layer, it's the visible layer, it's all three of these. So now you go to Filter, Blur, and Motion Blur. I think. Yeah, let's go with Motion Blur. Change the angle to 90. And play around with the distance, because depending on what you have here, the distance will matter, depending on how much grass you want. So for my size, this distance is fine. So I'm going to duplicate this one more time because it still looks a little scratchy. I'm going to put multiply on. Now I'm going to zoom in really far so where I can see the pixels comfortably. And I'm going to drag my top layer until it goes over 1 pixel. It can be left or right, it really doesn't matter. So now I have this. I'm going to go ahead and select them, Control E or Command E on a Mac to merge them. And if I zoom in, still they're a little bit funky. So now I'm going to go once again to Gaussian blur, or I'm sorry, I'm going to go to Gaussian blur first and then do a motion blur after that. So just do a Gaussian blur, and I'm trying to position this to where everything looks more defined, so there's more little shapes being made. It's like there's too many shapes, and they're all kind of like, well, I guess they are pretty close to each other. It's actually not a bad one to do. But if I keep going, it makes kind of bigger shapes, like here, and this black shape in between. And I actually want that. So I'm going to hit OK, Then I'm going to go to Filter, Motion Blur now. Hit OK to that one. So now go up to Filter and down to Sharpen, and down to Smart Sharpen. And I have this kind of preset, but what you're going to do is set it all the way up, or close to all the way up. I know. And then find the radius that works the best. So I just it starts you like right here, and I just scoot it up. And then you want to change this to Gaussian. It's going to be on lens by default. Change it to Gaussian, however you pronounce that. So I hiked it up until I got to like 5.9 here. I press shift up to get it to move by whole increments. It moves by, when you just press regular up, it moves by just tenths place. So I have mine at about 5.9. Yours will be different depending on the scale. Then you can move your mount down to where it's kind of like grayscale. And obviously it is grayscale, but you can move your mount down to where it's not so crazy looking. So there's less contrast essentially. And I'm almost there, and it kind of depends on your taste and the style, the drawing that you're putting this grass into. I think that should just about do it. Not really sure when it stopped. You can hit preview, obviously, to see the difference. I'm gonna hit OK with that. Obviously that's a matter of taste, how much you do. So hit a new layer. Oops. And hit G to bring up the paint tool, or just hit the paint tool. Select your color, and there's your grass. Thanks for watching. No, I'm joking. There's one more step, obviously. Most of you, a lot of you probably know what this step is. Now I'm looking in the window for transparency panel. Obviously I've been using Illustrator a lot. Okay, so once you have your green layer, go down to hue or color, and you have your grass. I used color as the blending mode, or as the blending mode. And if you want to make this into a pattern, or you want to keep going and make it even better, you can do that. It's pretty easy. You can keep going with like oil paint, and there's some sharpen and some of the filter things in the filter gallery. You can keep putting motion blurs on it. You can keep doing the thing where you nudge it, but I'm usually satisfied with just about right here. Although, let's just take a look at it if we sharpen it again. So you can see what happens if you keep sharpening it. And like I said, you might like this even better. And if you did another sharpen filter, because there's a lot of them, you might get rid of that small amount of shakiness, which is mostly a necessary evil because of how we did this. But that's how you make grass. Like I said, to make it a pattern, you would select all your layers, Control E, I think, then you could just kind of, well, you can go up here to define pattern, but you'd want to blur your edges and bring it in just a little bit. But that's how you make grass, essentially. And since you can make it as big as you want, you can just take this and just copy it and paste it and then shift it to where you can't see the seam, kind of erase over a little to make as much grass as you want. So anyway, thanks for watching, and stay tuned, subscribe, do all that stuff. Send me money. Cash.